Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you've solved this puzzle I have given you. Just a reminder, the puzzle was to find all the paths that the bottom 4 scouts in this position can take. So let's get into the answers and then I will explain the algorithm for finding paths. So we're going to look through the 4 solutions here. And for the most part, you only want to pay attention to the paths the scouts can take up and to the right. You should be familiar with the other directions and paths they can take. Now you should have seen these scouts moved more than 6 spaces, and this is because the number of spaces a scout or any unit can move is actually divided into left and right movement and up and down movement. So a scout can move 6 up or down and also 6 left and right. However, there are certain conditions in which left and right movement and up and down movement are subtracted when a scout moves a square. Let's look at the fundamental examples that will determine whether a scout can move left and right or up and down, and whether his movement points get subtracted. The first thing to be aware of is your units will check 4 different directions. These are going to be up and right, up and left, down and right. And when your unit is moving in one of those directions, he cannot reverse directions or go in any other direction. This is also going to be what's called a recursive algorithm. So I'm going to give you a set of procedures for one square that the scout is on, and when he moves to the next square, you apply the same set of procedures for that square until you run out of squares. So the set of procedures we are looking at is only going to look at scouts moving up and to the right, but the same rule will apply if he's moving up and left or down and right. The first fundamental example here is a scout who is unobstructed in moving forward, right, or diagonally forward. If the scout can only move vertically, as in he has no movement points horizontally, you're going to move him up, obviously. And if he only has horizontal movement points, move him horizontally. However, in this situation, if he has movement points for both going horizontally and vertically, if he chooses to move vertically, you're going to take away all of his horizontal movement points. This means that the scout will only be able to move vertically after this point. Similarly, if he chooses to move horizontally, he will only be able to move horizontally as you take away all of his vertical movement points. So you are going to take away all of the movement points for the direction he did not choose, and only take away 1 point for the direction he did choose, vertical or horizontal. If he moves diagonally, as in he moved both horizontally and vertically, you are only going to take away 1 movement point from his horizontal movement and his vertical movement. And then you will continue with this same algorithm. So if he finds his next square is unobstructed, you repeat these steps again. The next examples we'll look at are when the scout's path is totally obstructed, in which case you just end the algorithm right there. The next situation is when the vertical path of the scout is blocked and the horizontal path is open. The diagonal space can be occupied or not. what you do in this situation is move the scout horizontally if he can, otherwise his path ends here. But if you can move horizontally, you're going to move him horizontally 1, and you're only going to take away 1 horizontal movement point, and you don't do anything to the number of vertical spaces that the scout can move. So that means if the scout had 6 points, both vertically and horizontally in this situation, he moves horizontally 1 space, and now he still has 6 spaces to move vertically, even though he has 5 spaces to move horizontally. This is going to work the same way for a scout who has his horizontal path blocked, but the vertical path is open. Again, the diagonal path does not matter at this point. You move him vertically 1 space, and you take away 1 movement point from his vertical movement, and you leave his horizontal movement alone. Here is the most interesting situation we have, is when the scout's diagonal path is blocked, but the paths vertically and horizontally are open. This is unique because if the scout moves vertically, you take away all of his horizontal movement points, but you only subtract 1 from his vertical movement. If he chooses to move horizontally, you take away 1 movement point for his horizontal movement, but you actually leave his vertical movement alone. This is the only situation in which the actions you take do not reflect to the other side. And the reason this is done is so that the scout can only take 1 unique path, so he cannot go to the right 2 spaces and then up 2 spaces versus moving up 2 spaces and moving right 2 spaces. You can obviously do this in 2 clicks, but if we're only talking about the path that the scout has to find in 1 click, that's the path he will take, is moving right and then up. So at the end, when the scout moves to the square that you clicked on, the number of movement points he will have left is equal to whichever was lower, his horizontal or his vertical movement points. And remember, for these situations, if the scout can move, say, unobstructed in any direction, but he does not have any horizontal movement points, obviously he's only going to move vertically. And after you do move this scout and take away some points, again, you're going to go to the next situation for all of the unique paths that he can take there. So this can really branch off into many different paths, as you saw in the solutions. So what did you guys think? Was this helpful? Let me know in the comments below. I will be doing a video on how you can use this for defense and offense. You guys are rather bright though. I'm sure you can figure out ways to move around your own units while simultaneously blocking your opponent from moving around your units. But I hope this video was helpful. Have a nice day, and don't forget to subscribe.